only about 20% of dogs truly live in a state of emotional safety and happiness with their humans. That number sounds cold, but it is also very good news, because if your dog shows the behaviors you're about to hear, there's a strong chance you've given them a life many dogs never get to experience. And don't skip the final sign. It completely changes how you understand the human-dog relationship. Let's begin with something very small, yet incredibly deep. You're sitting quietly. You're not calling, not giving commands, not holding food, and you feel eyes on you. Your dog briefly glances at you, catches your gaze, then relaxes again. This isn't curiosity. This is what science calls referential monitoring, the ability to check in on a human's emotional state. What's remarkable is that dogs do this naturally, while wolves do not, even when raised by humans. A happy dog doesn't wait for something bad to happen before watching you. They check simply to make sure you're okay. That's a sign of real emotional bonding, not training. Then there's the moment you open the door and come home, and your dog's entire body turns into a joyful, wiggling mess. Not just the tail, the hips, shoulders, breathing, everything. This can't be faked. A wagging tail alone can signal stress, but a full body wiggle is pure joy. This response only appears when a dog's nervous system feels so safe and happy it can't contain itself. Not every dog has this. Some dogs follow you around the house. Many people call that clingy. But science makes a clear distinction. Anxious attachment and secure attachment are not the same. A happy dog chooses to stay near you, but doesn't fall apart when you close a door. They trust that you'll return. That's secure attachment, and it's rare. When you step away for a few minutes and come back, and your dog greets you like you've been gone for a century, that isn't instability. It's the opposite. An anxious dog panics, destroys things, or vocalizes when you're gone. A happy dog waits, then explodes with joy when you return. That joy doesn't come from fear. It comes from love. Watch how your dog sleeps. If they lie on their back, belly exposed, legs loose, breathing deeply, that's a state that barely exists in the wild. The belly is the most vulnerable part of the body. A dog only does this when it believes no threat exists. If it happens near you, then you are part of that sense of safety. When you're away, if your dog brings your clothes, shoes, or anything that smells like you to lie with, look closely. A happy dog uses scent to self-soothe, not to destroy. An anxious dog tears things apart. The difference lies in how the nervous system copes with absence. Some behaviors seem strange, like when your dog turns their back to you and presents their rear. But in canine language, this is one of the highest trust signals. It means, I trust you to watch my back. In nature, this would be extremely dangerous. If your dog does this with you, it's a profound compliment. Happy dogs also know how to leave at the right moment. They come for affection, stay for a bit, then walk away on their own. No clinging, no panic. That's a healthy relationship. Love without fear. When you pet your dog and they melt leaning in, body fully relaxed, that's the moment all defensive systems switch off. Not many dogs can reach this state. Most remain slightly tense because the world doesn't feel safe enough to them. Sometimes you haven't said anything yet, and your dog already reacts. Not because they're guessing. Dogs process words and tone in two separate brain regions, and only when both align do they truly understand. That ability to know before you speak doesn't come from training. It comes from living together deeply enough. If your dog eats slowly when you're nearby, even pausing to look at you, that's a powerful sign. In nature, eating is the most dangerous moment. Only dogs that feel no threat exists can relax like this. That deep sigh your dog lets out while lying next to you isn't boredom. It's the nervous system switching into rest mode. The body is saying, I'm safe. Many dogs never reach this state. Happy dogs remain calm when you leave. No screaming, no destruction. Not because they don't love you, but because they trust you. Trust that you always come back. That trust is built through hundreds of kept promises. During play, if your dog holds back, lets you win, respects limits, that isn't weakness. It's emotional intelligence. They know they're stronger, and they choose gentleness. Soft eyes, not tense. Not watchful trigger oxytocin in both of you. That's biological bonding. It can't be taught. If your dog yawns when you yawn, that's emotional synchrony. It's not random. It only happens with deep connection. If something goes wrong and your dog runs to you instead of freezing or panicking, you are their anchor in the world. And the final sign, the one few people notice, is when your dog shares their most private spaces with you. Their bed, their sunny spot, their sleeping corner. That isn't just permission, it's inclusion. It's bringing you into us. So how many of these signs does your dog show? If it's more than 10, you're not just a dog owner. You're living in a relationship where both nervous systems feel safe. If this video made you see the dog beside you differently, like it so this kind of respectful content can keep spreading. And subscribe if you want to keep understanding dogs not through tricks, but through science and respect. Because a dog's happiness doesn't come from expensive toys, it comes from being in the right place, with the right human. There is another layer of behavior that is rarely talked about, because it's not loud, not flashy, not easy to film, yet it is the clearest line between a dog that is merely okay and a dog that is truly living well. It is how a dog handles boredom. A happy dog doesn't need constant stimulation. They can be still, lying near you while nothing is happening. No demands, no destruction, no attempts to pull attention through negative behavior. This is one of the most important signs of a healthy nervous system, the ability to tolerate a neutral state. Many dogs today cannot do this, because they are raised in cycles of stimulation, reward, attention, and then abandonment. A dog that is living well can lie there, eyes open, breathing evenly, observing the space, then fall back asleep. Not because they are exhausted, but because they don't need to stay alert. They are not monitoring you, not guessing when you might get irritated, not trying to do something to be seen. Another thing often misunderstood is obedience. A happy dog is not always obedient in the sense of perfect compliance, but they cooperate. When you call, they consider. When you ask, they respond. Not out of fear, but because the relationship is safe enough that they want to engage with you. You'll also notice that happy dogs don't overreact to their environment. Loud noises don't send them into prolonged panic. Strangers don't cause freezing or excessive lunging. Reactions may appear, but they self-regulate, returning to baseline fairly quickly. This is a sign of emotional regulation, something that cannot be trained with commands, only built through a consistent living environment, a small but very real detail of everyday life. Happy dogs don't need you to constantly prove your love. You don't have to always pet, talk, or play. They feel your presence even in silence. And that silence is where the deepest connection lives. If you've ever seen your dog choose to lie with their back turned, or at a comfortable distance, not too close, not too far, that isn't coldness. It's trust without control. They know you're there, and that's enough. This piece, in the end, isn't meant to make you count how many signs your dog has. It's meant to help you see your dog as a being with a nervous system, not a reaction machine. When that nervous system is nurtured with stability, respect, and consistency, happiness doesn't need to perform. It's quiet, steady, and durable. And if you've watched this far, there's a good chance you've done more things right than you think. Not perfectly, but enough. And for a dog, feeling safe enough is the highest foundation of a good life. There is one more thing the material only touches on lightly, but in real life it determines the entire quality of the relationship between you and your dog. How your dog responds when you are not okay. Dogs who live in happy environments don't try to fix your emotions. They don't panic when you're sad. Don't become chaotic when you're quiet. Don't force you to be cheerful. They simply stay there. A little closer, a little slower. That is a sign of a nervous system mature enough not to be pulled into human emotional swings. Many dogs can't do this, because they are forced into the role of emotional regulator for the entire household. And when a dog has to be the adult for you, it cannot remain happy in the long term. You'll also notice that happy dogs don't live in a constant state of waiting. They're not waiting for you to stand up, not waiting for the sound of a food bag, not waiting for a play signal. They have their own inner life, even while being deeply bonded to you. They know how to find a sunny spot, how to rest, how to shift states on their own. Many people mistake this for a dog being less attached, but in reality, it is the highest form of safety. Another crucial point: happy dogs don't need you to always be right. You might forget a walk. You might have an irritable day, You might be clumsy in certain moments, but the relationship doesn't collapse, because their trust isn't built on individual behaviors, but on patterns repeated over time. Long-term consistency always outweighs short-term mistakes. If you've ever seen your dog actively adjust to your rhythm, slowing down when you're tired, becoming more energetic when you're joyful, quieting when the space needs calm that isn't luck, it's the result of hundreds of days in which you didn't make your dog feel unsafe. You didn't force, threaten, or emotionally abandon them. And there is one moment very few people notice, but once you see it, you never forget it. It's when your dog looks at you, then turns away to do something else, without needing further confirmation. Not because they don't care, but because they are secure enough to know the relationship doesn't require constant checking. That certainty is freedom. If you're still watching at this point, you may not be looking for dog training tips. You may be looking for confirmation that the way you live with your dog matters. And if so, this video isn't here to teach you how to do better, but to help you realize you've likely done more things right than you think. A dog's happiness isn't loud. It doesn't go viral. It isn't a dramatic moment. It's a long chain of ordinary days, where another being feels safe enough to exhale, sleep deeply, and fully exist beside you. And if you're creating that, even if no one sees it, you're doing something profoundly important. There is another layer, deeper than all the signs mentioned so far, and it only reveals itself after a very long time living together, when the dog is no longer performing anything at all. It is how they age in calmness. Dogs who truly live well do not grow old in panic. They do not become irritable without reason. They do not lose their ability to self-regulate as their bodies weaken. They slow down. Yes, but they slow down in peace. You'll notice their eyes no longer constantly search, no longer check, no longer scan for threat. They know this rhythm of life. They know you. They know this space. And because of that, they are able to let go. Many behavioral issues in senior dogs don't come from aging itself, but from a lifetime of chronic stress. When the nervous system is forced to stay on guard for years, the body ages faster. In contrast, dogs raised in emotionally safe environments often enter old age with a remarkable softness, not because they feel no pain, but because they are not afraid. Another sign very few people notice: happy dogs don't try to hold you back. When you stand up, preparing to leave, they don't block the door, don't crowd you, don't use their body to pull you back. They watch, register, and accept. This isn't coldness. This is trust so deep it doesn't need to cling. Clinging only happens when there is still insecurity inside. You'll also see that happy dogs rarely claim ownership. They don't guard objects excessively, don't defend space intensely, don't overreact to small interruptions, because they don't live with a sense of scarcity. When a being knows its needs will be met consistently, it doesn't need to protect anything too tightly. From my experience, the dogs who live the best lives are often not the most perfect ones. They may not obey immediately. They may be a little lazy. They may have a few small habits that aren't very polished, but they are stable from the inside, and that stability flows back into the humans who live with them. If you live with dogs long enough, you begin to understand this. Dogs don't learn happiness from what you teach them. They learn it from the state you bring home every day, from how you move, how you touch, how you speak when you're displeased, how you stay silent when you're tired. All of that becomes the emotional climate your dog lives inside for its entire life. This material and everything I've added to it isn't meant to make you compare yourself to anyone else. It only asks you to see the dog beside you as a being who has placed its entire nervous system in your hands, day after day, without conditions. When you truly understand that, you stop asking, "How do I make my dog happier?" You begin asking a different question, deeper and more honest. Is this living space safe enough for both of us to exhale? And if the answer is increasingly yes, then even without any more signs, your dog is living a life of real value. And to close this video, I want to leave you with something very simple. Dogs don't measure happiness by how many times they're petted, how many toys they have, or how many commands they perform correctly. They measure it by a sustained sense of safety in the body. Safety while sleeping. Safety while eating. Safety when you leave. Safety when you return. Safety even on very ordinary days, with nothing worth posting online. The signs we've talked about in this video aren't a test for you to pass or fail. They're simply biological signals showing whether another living being is or isn't having to stay tense just to exist. And when a dog no longer has to hold itself together, that's when it can live fully in its true nature. In the end, living with a dog isn't about making them happier every single day. It's about not adding more insecurity to their life, day after day. When you do that long enough, happiness doesn't need to be proven. It simply shows up quietly, but with incredible durability. If after this video you look at the dog beside you a little more slowly, understand them a little better, and move with gentler hands in everyday moments, then this video has done its job. Not to teach you how to be a better dog owner, but to remind you that a good relationship doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be safe enough for both of you to exhale.